Okay, so Asperger's Syndrome comes with some really interesting symptoms or characteristics and traits. I'm going to get into all of that right now. Let's go. Guys, I'm presenting to you 3 odd traits of Asperger's Syndrome. And I just want to kind of go to the start with all of this and say that the term Asperger's Syndrome refers to a low support needs autism spectrum disorder. See, I did it. And basically, in like 2013, they changed the name from Asperger's Syndrome to just Autism Spectrum Disorder to allow people access to help and stuff when they were otherwise not being able to get the help because it was not called autism, right? Anyway, moving past that, I wanted to share with you 3 of the most interesting traits, characteristics, or symptoms of autism that you've never even thought about. And this is specifically for people who are diagnosed Asperger's Syndrome. And the first one I want to talk about is smelling everything. So autism comes with it a whole host of stuff, right? Which you've probably heard of, like, there's loads of things that happen when you're on the autism spectrum. However, one of the most interesting, most intriguing things is that sensory processing disorder comes comorbidly, which means co-occurring. Basically, like, it happens as well as autism. So autism spectrum disorder comes with sensory processing disorder. And SPD, for short, basically is how the body processes third-party stimuli. So it could be heat, sound, smell, touch, taste, all of those things. Like, how many times, if you're autistic, right, and you're watching this now, or you've got Asperger's Syndrome, how many times do you put on a pair of socks and the seam line of the socks annoys you so much that you cannot wear it? That's sensory processing disorder. However, one of the most interesting things, and I have this and so does my son, when you have a tendency to want to smell everything, you've got heightened sense of smell, you've got a tendency to smell everything. You want to be like, hey, I can smell toast like 2 blocks away, or I end up smelling my hands, like, my hands smell weird. Or if I come across something on my phone, I'm like, why does my phone smell weird? I smell everything. Like, even this can, I'm like, when I open this can and I'm like, smelling it, to like, does it smell okay? Like, does this can? So, smelling everything is a trait that happens, and it becomes more and more. Like, an autistic person will start literally smelling everything, which is quite interesting because, going to a restaurant with people hanging out and you start like sniffing the cutlery, it's not considered a typical way to dine, right? But autistic people will. And I find myself smelling all kinds of stuff, but also it does have its downturn where, like, if somebody farts, it's game over. I have to leave the country. But in all seriousness, I find it fascinating, and I think it's the most interesting thing about having an autism spectrum disorder. That being said, I think that smelling isn't the only thing. You can get people who are also hypo-sensitive, which means that they can't smell anything at all. But when they're hypersensitive and they can smell everything very detailed, then you can count that as a trait of the sensory processing disorder within autism. Okay, number 2 is really interesting. Okay. How many people here have are either autistic or have an autistic child, right? And your autistic child can have their iPad here, and they're watching, like, they're playing Roblox on the iPad, and they have their phone here, and they're scrolling TikTok here. So you got, like, TikTok and the iPad going at the same time. You're watching 2 things at once. Or sometimes when I'm working at my desk like this, I'm, like, on my keyboard, and then here I got my iPad, and I'm watching Fight Club on my iPad. So I've got Fight Club on the go, and I'm working. And sometimes I'll even have an audiobook on the go as well. And I can do all of those things at once, which is quite impressive. However, it's definitely a symptomatic trait of autism. Basically, it's because our brains are wanting to search for constant focus whilst also wanting to wonder, right? What does this mean? It means that, like, when you are wanting to focus on work, but your mind wants to wonder, you allow it to wander to something that you already like, so then you can come back to the thing that you focus on. So I'm like this, I need to write this book or write this article, blah, blah, blah. And then all of a sudden I go, hey, Fight Club's on. I watch a bit of Fight Club. Then I'll be like, oh, I've seen it. Yeah, I'll go back to this. This is how our brains work. It's absolutely fantastic, and it's very interesting. Now, today's video sponsor is WizRead. Now, this is something very interesting, and I want to talk to you guys about it. And so, WizRead is an application for your iPad and also an online web portal, which is completely free. I will leave a link for it down in the description down below. And what it does is it helps you understand context of learning to read. So a lot of autistic people like myself have dyslexia. Not only dyslexia, you have like alexithymia and other issues of translating the written or verbal information into your brain. Now, 2 of the biggest things that happen when people are trying to learn something is that they have the lack of mass, which is having the thing in front of you that you can't see. So if I was talking to you about this keyboard and I was trying to explain to you about it, but you didn't have it in front of you, how are you supposed to visualize it, right? But if it's in front of you, it's there. the second biggest thing with scholastic education is that people don't understand words properly. Now, WizRead actually makes this so easy. You can actually highlight a word and it'll tell you what this word is, like rainforest, right? It tells you what the rainforest is, and it'll say the word rainforest to you. It'll show you a picture of the rainforest, but it will also play you a sound of what the rainforest sounds like. That is like 3 dimensions of awesome. Now, WizReads is amazing. I found it absolutely fantastic. As a dyslexic person myself, as a dyslexic person trying to read books and read things, you can load in books into this. You can load in your text into this application online or on your iPad, and it just works. It works like magic. Please check it out. The guys are so sweet. I messaged the company to check it out because I really wanted to use this product, and then we ended up working together. I think it's amazing. And if you're having trouble reading and understanding, words and concepts, this absolutely changes the game. I love it. I think it's a fantastic app, and I think there's so much hope in the future for it. So please go check out WizRead. The link is in the description down below, and I will link them in my bio as well, in case anybody's watching this on TikTok and Instagram. Okay, on with the video, guys. Okay, so this is probably like the weirdest one, okay? And why weird? I mean like weird in a good way, because like autistic individuals are weird and they're quirky, but we're awesome, right? Like, we're awesome. You guys know we're awesome. This one is absolutely fantastic. What happens here with this is that when you are an autistic person and you have something, and let's say a pair of shoes, right? And they're your first pair of Converse shoes or Air Jordans or whatever, right? And then you're looking at the shoes and they've gone old and manky and they're like kind of falling apart. And you can't get rid of these shoes because autistic individuals, people with Aspergers Syndrome, will give personality to objects. Like, my first car was called Tony the Ghost, right? And I miss Tony the Ghost. Like, I still worry, like, where's Tony the Ghost? Like, I gave it personality. I gave it thoughts and feelings. I gave it more than it was actually was, Like, I see things that they have personality, so I can't get rid of them. Like, you ever had, like, that jumper or a T-shirt that you can't get rid of, that you're like, hey, this is old Sharky. I can't get rid of him because, like, a picture of Shark in it or something like that. It's very interesting. So you'll see autistic individuals, or you're an autistic individual yourself, and you have a closet full of stuff that you can't even get rid of. You probably got your first ever pair of jeans you ever wore, or like the first ever pair of shoes you ever bought, right? Because you can't get rid of them, because they have personality. They are a person in your life, just like a pet would be, just like a person in your life would be. We give personality, we give persona, and we give energy to inanimate objects, all things that we just have. Like, so everything here has, even this desk, even my desk has a personality, and I love it, and I couldn't be without my desk. This is so important, but it's very isolated. It's people on the autism spectrum. The reason why we do this is because we can understand the world better if we can relate to it. And the only way we can relate to it is by putting a presence on it, that it's here and it's with us like a person or a pet or something that interacts with us. Because if you think about it, we interact with everything daily. We're interacting with this mouse, I'm interacting with the camera. And because you interact with something, it has to have a personality, because how is it interacting with you? And I know it's not technically interacting with you, but we still have an interface here, right? And I think that's the most fascinating thing about autistic individuals. We are so complex. Our brains are just absolutely just so complex to the core that you can never really tell what's going on inside the brain. But this is just a short snap insight to it. Now, I'd love to know your comments down below. Please give this video a thumbs up if you enjoyed it. Share it if you think it's valuable for somebody, and leave me a comment down below. You guys are amazing. Please check out WizRead. Awesome. Peace out.